All right, so hi everybody, my name's Ryan Pauley. I am a developer with Sendle. We're technically based in Sydney, so I feel like I should go to the Sydney events more frequently. However, I am based in Hobart. That's my real excuse. Let's see. Yeah, so Sendle, we are a courier for small and medium e-commerce. We work with couriers, parcels, and customers domestically in Australia, the US, and we are a Rails app that grew into an Elixir app, and we've been using both in various monoliths since, well, Sendle's been around since about 2014, but we've been doing Elixir and loving it since about 2016. And it's, I love writing Elixir, and when I have to make anything, I think, how can I do it in Elixir first? Until I'm told, no, you have to use something boring and lame. Yeah, so this is a story about my coffee machine. This is a Rancilio Silvia. It is a home use single burner espresso machine, and it is wonderfully simple. It's all pneumatic and just has some really simple electronics, with the exception of one device. And that, unfortunately, broke. And specifically, this resistor right down here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but it's this little guy. You should not be seeing copper, but you are definitely seeing copper because the resistor exploded. Usually the little IC next to it, to the top right there above the capacitor, the round guy, sometimes that breaks too. This is the second time this device broke on me. The first time it was under warranty, so it was no deal. The second time it happened, I figured it was 5 years later. All right, whatever, reasonable. But then I thought, I can do this. I know how to solder. I can fix this resistor. However, I didn't have that resistor. And so my colleague then said, you can do parallel, and you can do, series of resistors to get the exact same resistance. And, I sat there and I thought, okay, I can do that. I want to do it. Let's do it. And yeah, it's not as simple as that. But I gave it a go, but then I didn't want to explode it. So I thought, maybe I should learn how to build electronics, and how hard could it be? Famous last words. But yeah, it didn't go so well. But along the pathway, I then decided, I'm going to make a sweet little app to compute resistors, and it's going to be great. It's going to do the business. I should do that. And yeah, I went online, I looked at other resistor things, and I said, well, they're fine, but I don't want to deal with it. So ultimately, I wanted to make a CLI. And then ultimately, I started taking a course to build an 8-bit computer based on breadboards. This really cool class from Ben Eder. It's all on YouTube, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so of course, once I now started this course to learn electronics, now I needed something else to do to take my mind away from the things that I needed to do. So it became this Elixir app. And yeah, anyway, somewhere along the way, I ended up trying to put all these resistors together, and yay, fire. It didn't work. And I'm pretty sure it was 100% my work. Everything else seems fine, except for the resistor candelabra that you can no longer see. But yeah, whatever. Like that part, that part was fine. And like, I think that if I just got some rubbing alcohol, I could totally just clean everything off, with the exception of that little charred number there. But anyway, for the most part, this is 80% reusable. Anyway, now that that was out of the way, I had the freedom to focus. Let's build an eScript. Now, I had seen eScripts before. I'll just say 2018. I saw them and thought, oh, I should do that. I want to make a command line utility. Cool, I'll do that. I basically went to the internet and found an article for it, and found quite a few. They're relatively similar. It boils down to this: to make an eScript, you need 4 magic commands. You make your app like you would with anything. It makes new app. Now that you have your app, in the mix file, you just have to add this eScript line. eScript, you tell it the main module is this module, and then in that module, all you have to do is make a function called main, and it will run based on that. I think it has to take 1 argument, which is going to be your string arguments, and then you run mix eScript build, and if it's happy, it will build, and then you can run it with /app, and if you have no arguments, it'll run. If you have arguments and you put them in there, it'll do the business. And yeah, the only caveats that I really came into was, so it creates this executable file, and I had secretly hoped that once that was built, I could take that executable and chuck it wherever, and then it would just run, and it would be this super svelte little script. It doesn't work that way. That's the only caveat I really found. It is an executable. It will run pretty simple without having to specifically invoke Elixir, but it does require the package that is the whole Elixir app behind it. And that's fine. Like, the only other problem I found, and these are pretty much my only, spoiler, this is my only cons for it, is you can't just move around the executable. And if you're using a version manager like ASDF, you can hit version issues based on different Elixirs running around. I found the best way around it was to just specify the path to the specific Elixir app, and then call it through like on ZSH or Bash or something, and then it worked fine. But those are really the only things. Anyway, that's my very quick run over of how it works. This is really all you need to add to the mix file. It's real simple: eScript main module, and then in my instance, it went to Resistor CLI parser, and that was it. I didn't have any dependents, real simple stuff. And then when it actually came down to the module, here's your main. For this one, I only used string arguments. I just wanted to basically take bands by color, and so it was basically a list of strings, and I wanted to figure out those bands and then spit back some sweet resistor numbers. And then, of course, if it wasn't 4 or 5 bands, it gave you a little message to say you're wrong. And I figured it was for me. So I have some really bad code. Like, none of this stuff is going to be really sexy production code here. No one was checking my pull requests, so I apologize if that offends anybody, but I also don't care. Yeah, so here's it in action. I just made I could do it in human form, but I just thought I could talk over it. So yeah, with this, this is all I really wanted to do. I wanted to basically type in colors, and I wanted to kick out the resistor. I really liked working with the colored strings. I'm a big fan of was it Rainbow, I think, from Rubyland, and so I wanted to try and do the Elixir version. it's a bit interesting to work with. It's not as straightforward as wrapping a string. You have to kind of concat various bits with that. I think it's the IO ANSI. I'm going to say ANSI. But it works really well once you get a hang of it. But yeah, this is all it's doing. And I just wanted to display the numbers, tell you what they each were, and then the value. And this did all the business. And I probably spent a weekend on it, but mostly just because I was trying to make it nice. I was trying to tighten it up and make it look good, but it didn't take long. And that's when I went on Twitter and was just saying, I love this. This is my great thing. I made a thing. And then Paul reached out and said, oh, you should do a talk about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And then once I was now making a talk about it, well, then I realized that I probably need something more than just making and showing off that single app. So I went a little deeper. And so I basically made 2 more scripts for you, which I can now show. I wanted to do things like use the option flags, and I wanted to press to see how much you needed or how much the eScript could do. And I didn't explode it in any way, filling and a callback to my previous fire, but everything went really well. And I kind of want to go further still, but I have yet to take it to some place that explodes it. So anyway, the next thing I did is I wanted to do requests. We do shipping and we have an API, and I make a ton of bookings for Sendle. In our test bookings, I can on a good day I can make 50. On a bad day I can make 150. And one of the things that I did previously was to have a script that would just automate the API request thing. Now, I didn't like working in Bash, so I wanted something else. This is my something else. It's not done, but it's gonna be, and it's gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna be able to make API requests like no one's business when it's finished. But what's cool about this specifically is this slide is showing what the options do. The built-in option parser down on line 14 shows you this is built-in stock Elixir module, and it will, using these switches up here over on line 3, you basically tell it what, these are options. You can specify Boolean, you can specify various types. I just left it simple to say, if this option exists, for ping, we're gonna run ping. And then that's this down here on line 18, this booking magic ping run. And now this, again, this is not a very fancy code. It's just running HTT Poison, which is a good app. And let's see, I don't think you can see anything more on this slide. So yeah, down here you have, this is how it separates out into ping and quote. I'm sure there's a sexier way to handle these, but conditional work good. But it handled it fine. Like here again, the mix file, all you needed to add was this eScript with the line to basically say, go to this module. And then down at the bottom, you can see that there's HTTP Poison in there, there's Hackney, and there's JSON as dependencies. And once, like any app, you get those to work, it works happy in, IEX, it works fine anywhere else. And this is what it looks like. So you run it, I think I just had, I probably have both of them. You just run it without any options. It prints out this string to help you. You add the P for ping. It's going to try the ping API endpoint. And there it is. And then NBN, I really want it. Booking magic Q, that's for quoting. And then it spits back a quote. Now, like I gave it canned data because I needed to get this squared away. But like it's making live quotes, it's making live requests, and it's doing fine. And yeah, like I had worried when I was looking into HTTP Poison and Hackney that I needed to have like a Hackney server up and, you know, doing all sorts of big server level things behind the scenes to make it work. But no, HTTP Poison sorted it out and made it all work nice. So yeah, that's with options and dependencies, and still more. That went really well. It went too well, and it gave me lots of confidence. So I thought, can I replace Bash completely? That was my new hope, because I just hate Bash. I don't writing conditionals that way. So I thought, how can I try this out? I think there were examples of using who am I, or just echo commands. I'm just like, that's stupid. I don't want that. I want to make GIFs. We have a very strong culture at Sendle of emojis, and we use them in Slack like no one's business. I did a quick count to see how many emojis we had made. And in 2020, this current year of torture, we have made 523 emojis. Most months it was well over 30 a month. And then, and just to put that in perspective, in 2019, we made 653. So we're falling behind, and we need to get back to the top. We want to make this the best, worst year ever. So we need more emojis. And this is my attempt to do so. The problem with a lot of GIFs is that they're too big, even for Slack. So what you need to do is you need to take those GIFs and shrink them down. And now my favorite app for doing that is one called Gifsicle. It's a fantastic command line tool. Super basic, but it does the job as long as you know what you're doing. This is Gifsicle's help dialogue, or prompt or whatever it is. It's very thick. Now, I sometimes will get deep into it, but often I will not, and I will just do a few things. Like I will tell it to loop, because sometimes when you cut frames out of a GIF in, say, preview, it will kill the loop of it. So I'll use Gifsicle to restart the endless loop. But then mainly what I use it for is shrinking a GIF, either by its size or its amount of colors. And yeah, so I wanted to see if I could use it. So I did. And basically I just kind of took all that I had done so far. The big focus, the big thing that I used in the Elixir ecosystem make it work is this at the top, system command 3-argument function. I'm pretty sure that pulls just from Erlang's similar function. I think it's OS in Erlang, but I think that this one basically just feeds right into it. I looked into using the Erlang one when I was running into some issues with system, but for the most part, system worked really well, and it specifically worked well in this. My example Slack GIF here, I pretty much just focused on the resize thing. So I wanted to do a few different options, and I wanted to make sure that I could do multiple options together. I will probably blow this, because of how much we use emojis. I will probably blow this out and spend my next stuck point working on this and making it fully featured. But in the meantime, all this does is basically resize an emoji, and it specifies with that name option there what the output option is going to be. And this is more or less what it's doing. The arrow is pointing to the multiple options that are kind of just shoved in there. So it's using Gifsicle. Oh, in the end, I had to use this. So if you look on line 53 there, I'm using the system command. And what I found, it worked fine when you were using a single flag. So for help, it worked great. And it basically does it and then it spits it straight into IOStream and prints it out very nice. The multiple flags didn't work as nice, and I didn't feel like debugging it any further, so I just picked up this this dependency called sh, and it basically just treats any command that your computer can do as a function. So you do sh.gifsicle, and then you feed in your options that way. And so it's feeding in the path, it's feeding in the resize fit to 128 by 128 pixels. L is the loop cycle, true is infinite loop, and then O is output and output to where it came from, plus the output name. And then down on 65, there's this debug line. And if that flag is hit, it will spit out, you know, the debugging information, which it works pretty well. And then I think the final is this. So I have Rand Paul GIF here on the left, 549 kilobytes, and then it shrunk down to 54 kilobytes. So it does the business, and it does it really quick, and it was easy to work with. And that is my conclusion. Escripts, very easy. They can take a lot of dependencies, and really anything, like the next, like if I had more time, I would have tried to stick like a gen server and see what happened when I tried to run a gen server through an Escript. I want to believe it would start breaking at that point, but maybe not. You know, if you write a gen server right and you close out when it's finished, why would it have to stop? So I'm curious to see what happens. I bet it would work really well. I have a secret hope of getting like one of these kind of computer driven ones to run like a camera that's doing like, you know, some sort of video tracking, and then having another one playing like an emulator, and then having Elixir play like Mario Kart. That's my dream right now. And I think this is the way. I think this would work. Probably would rather just have an actual Elixir app running this thing, but you know, who knows? I want to see it. I want to see it break. I want to see it burn. You know, that's the goal. Anyway, that's the pros. Cons, like I said, the executable did require the app, so it wasn't like I could just make it and then send it off to someone else and then run it. No, it needs the whole package to run underneath. The version issues around it with Elixir, I was using, I think, Elixir 6 at the time because of some old project when I started it. Then I put 10 somewhere else and then hit kind of some issues. It's fine. Like you have to be a bit more careful. How surprising. And then I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but the other one is this mix escript install. ASDF kind of makes that fail, but I think that if you had Elixir installed, you can run mix escript install, and then it will take your script and add it to the mix options. And so you can just run it from anywhere that's available. But ASDF kind of makes it weird. I'm sure there's a good way to do it, but I didn't find it. But yeah, that's all I got. I thought it was fun. Get out there. And yeah, Sendel, we're hiring. I don't have any specific information about it, but we are. So if you're curious, you can reach out and I can put you in the right person. And that's it. Thanks. Oh, any questions? I don't know.
So just on the con stuff, I put in, and maybe Rob can talk a little bit more about it. Bakeware came out of some competition, Spawn Fests, and it was basically a way of doing a Go or Rust-like executable.
Yeah.
Which seems to solve some of the problems.
Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
No, I got nothing to say. I was just, that's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, there's no real drama taking any kind of Elixir application, be it a script or a full Phoenix release, and running it in Bakeware. And what Bakeware does is it takes your OTP release tar file and shoves it into an executable along with a small executable they've written that then explodes that back out on the system. So that means you don't have to have Elixir or Erlang installed on that target machine. You just have to, at the moment, you have to build on the target the target architecture that you're building for. Yeah. So I haven't built anything like specifically myself, but I've run through their demos. So they have Phoenix app, they have command line utilities, and they have Scenic examples, and that all seems to work fine. They sort of stopped work on it for a month, and hopefully, because it's part of this competition, hopefully someone will pick it back up. And by they, the developers seem to be mostly Nerves developers. So
I think that's
good
why
pedigree.
Bakeware.
Yeah. So yeah, this might solve some of those issues, and yeah, we might see a lot more Elixir-based scripting out there for things where it makes sense, where you can live with the startup times and whatnot.
Yeah, cool. Go check that out.